Hello and welcome to the Patrick Chapman Show. I'm Patrick Chapman and here we go. So today I went to the cemetery and people are dying to get in there. And the reason I went was it was my son's idea, Tomasz. His great-grandfather had died on this day 15 years ago. So he had the idea to go visit his great-grandfather, and we did. Tomasz and I, and Tomasz and his grandfather and I. So we did that, and I just wanted to make one more point about that. It's just for my Polish students of English. Many Polish people mispronounce the word cemetery. There's no N in it. And in the Polish word, which is quite similar, it's cmentarz. And so you got that N in the middle of it, cmentarz. And so they add the N in when they say it in English, and they say cemetery, like cement, like it's made of cement. Cemetery. There's no N. It's a cemetery. Anyway, a little English lesson there. So today we got beautiful weather. It's snowing. It's been snowing on and off all day. So we've got tiny little bit, thin layer of snow. But in the morning, my two younger kids and I rode our bikes out, despite the slipperiness, and it wasn't too slippery at that point. We rode out to boxing for boxing practice, and they had a good training. And then it's good to get out of the house. It's good to have sometimes it's nice to have a free day with nothing to do, but it's not nice to have 2 or 3 or just too many free days with nothing to do. So it's good to have things to do, like go to boxing lessons, and that was a lot of fun. They really enjoy it, and I enjoy that they enjoy it. So, and I gotta say, it's a Scorpion gym here in Legnica, and they're doing a great business. It's a lot of fun for the kids. There are a lot of kids. They are rocking. I mean, it's a good business, and I'm happy for them. I love to see that. I never like to see any business, whether it's a restaurant or something, and it just doesn't work, But this is working and good for them. It's a little bad for us because they used to be right here in the neighborhood. We could walk out our door, and it's like a 1-minute walk, literally. You could be there in less than a minute. But now we got to ride our bikes all the way to the other side of the city, so it's quite a long ride. The other night, about a week ago, plus minus, we were coming home because today we had it in the morning because it's New Year's Eve, but then normally they start at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we leave the house a little bit after 4 o'clock. And so they go 5 to 6. Well, I mean, it gets dark at 4 now. Like right now, it's getting dark about 4 o'clock. So we're coming home in the dark after we're even getting there in the dark, really. So we're coming home in the dark, though, after the training on this particular night. It's nice and cold out, but not too bad if you got good gloves, especially. We get to the bridge over the river in the park, and we all kind of at the same time hear this owl. We heard an owl hooting. It wasn't really screeching. This was more like a hooter. And I have an app on my phone, which my older son, ZB, he's the bird expert, and he gave me this app. He put an app on my phone, which is for identifying birds. So anytime you hear a bird, you click the app, it'll record it, and it'll listen, and it'll tell you what bird it is. And that is so cool. So, and I'd never heard of this bird. It's called a tawny owl. I don't know, I never heard of tawny owl, but I guess that's the type of owl that it is. And we got off our bikes, and we're standing there listening to it, trying to find it up in the tree. It was just up in one of the tall trees near us, but I could not see it. 1, it was dark. 2, it wasn't really flying around. It was just sitting up there somewhere. I never saw it. Tomasz said he saw it, but I'm not even sure if he was sure. So that was cool because you don't often see or hear an owl. I probably hear them more than I see them. But I have seen them occasionally, and it's just it's a thrill because they're not common. We went by there again last night because they also had training last night, and I thought, well, maybe we'll hear it again, but we didn't. So it had gone. They're throwing firecrackers. That might have been what scared the owl away, because even today we were going back to the car. We'd just gotten in the car, and some kid from somewhere threw a firecracker, and a big one, right on the car, like in the front, near the front headlight. It was either right in front of the car or right on the car, because it exploded and it was loud. Good thing we were in the car. I was so angry. But then you can't find the kid, and if you do, you can't prove that it was that kid, But I mean, ooh, the beating that I imagine in my little mind movie. Oh, it feels so good, it was that line from Pulp Fiction. It would have been worth it just to catch him. After the guy keyed his car, he said that. Anyway, okay, so that's that. So we got snow today. It's the last day of 2025. Goodbye, 2025. See you again, never. And that's too bad. It was a good year. Good year. So that's the topic of today. We're just going to go through the year, talk about the highlights, I guess. But before we do that, I wanted to say one more thing that happened this week. Saturday, I was supposed to have a lesson. I actually ended up having one lesson. I was supposed to have three. The third one was postponed. Yeah, the third one was postponed until Sunday. So we'd still had the lesson, but on Sunday evening. So that was okay. But the first one was supposed to be at 8 o'clock. A new student whom I'd had one lesson with her. It's a young woman. And so she's supposed to come to my house at 8 o'clock. Well, and she comes every 2 weeks, so every second week. But we'd only met once. We had our first lesson. We arranged to have it every second week. And then the previous week, she was supposed to come, but in fact, she had already asked me if she could not come on 1 week, but push it forward a week. And I don't know if that's forward or backward, but going later a week. And I agreed, no problem, I don't care. And then on that day, I don't remember if I think it was the same day. Like, I'm already up, we're getting ready for the lesson, and she texted me, like, sorry, I'm not coming, I overslept or something. What we used to call a cock and bull story. About why she's not coming, but could she please, and so sorry, oh, so sorry. Unimaginable sorrow seeping from her. So we, and then begging to meet again the next week, which was last weekend. So she's supposed to come Saturday, and she doesn't come. And no text, no message, no nothing, no telephone call. I sent her a message just to say, are you coming? It was like 6 minutes after 8, and I'm like, okay, just, are you coming? She didn't answer, and she didn't come, and now she'll never come again. And this is how some people do it, they just stop coming. They don't say anything. And I'm always appreciative. Like, I had a student in the summer, and she had come, I don't know, maybe 10 times, max, maybe only 5. But then she said she was just too busy, and she just couldn't come anymore. She told me, she said, this will be our last lesson. And I really appreciated her telling me that. So it's like the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things. Okay. Some people do things a little bit unprofessionally, let's say. Okay, I talked about the owl. Oh, another thing happened. On Christmas Day, my daughter and I went to the cathedral in the center of town, and we're just getting up to leave, and these 3 guys came in. The 3 guys, and they were obviously not Polish. And so I'm thinking, well, if they're not Polish, which you could see by their look, they're not Polish. They're not from here. So I'm thinking they probably speak English. And so I asked them, hey, do you guys speak English? And they do. Or at least one of them did. The other 2 didn't say anything. And I don't know if they actually understood what we were saying or if they didn't understand. Because the answer was yes, which means yes, we speak English. But then I'm just talking to one of them while the other 2 are standing there. So, but this other one spoke fluently, And I said, where are you guys from? Nepal. These guys are from Nepal. I'm like, that's far away. I don't know anything about Nepal, but it's far. And they're just kind of like looking around the church. or just visiting, I guess. And so I said, well, what are you doing in Poland, you know? And they're working here. And the one guy had been here 4 years, I think. And I asked him what company. He told me, and I don't remember which company it is, but there are a lot of companies in the industrial park with factories. And I teach English at some of those companies, or I have taught. I still teach at one of them. So yeah, and that's it. You know, we just, you know, I told him welcome to Poland and, you know, a Merry Christmas. You know, so that was kind of cool. I just love meeting people like that. You know, you never know when that will happen, and it's kind of good to get out of the house because you never know when you'll be surprised pleasantly. And then my daughter and I went to a cafe and read a little bit and had a coffee. She had a hot chocolate and blah blah blah. Okay, here, let's go with what happened this year. So 2025 is a good year because we're all healthy, and that's the most important thing. And I always tell you that. It's a little cliche. It's a Polish cliche. Health is the most important thing, but it's true. And that's why it's a cliche. The cliches are true. That's how they get there. So this year, back in February, my sister and her husband, Sarah and Mark, came to visit us. And that was a lot of fun. We had so much fun on that trip. And I've talked about that already, so I'm not going to overdo it, but yeah, getting on the wrong train, the train to Bolesławice instead of the train to Bolesławiec. That's just funny. And you wonder how it could happen, but it did. Oops, wrong train. That was an adventure. But that turned out to be a really good day. Really good day. And the whole trip was great. And the Muddy Mud Bowl, I always have to mention the Muddy Mud Bowl. I don't remember who won, but a lot of fun playing football in the mud. Okay. I started doing podcasts, so I'm really happy with this. It's my hobby. I don't know if it's going anywhere, or I get some likes, you know, some of you people out there like it and have subscribed. I got 120, maybe 121 subscribers now. So I'm happy. That's triple digits, you know. When I started, I did not think I would get that, and so I'm happy. I would love to go to 1 million or something, but who cares? You know, I'm going to do it anyway, even if I don't. And I don't know if this is a little obnoxious, but there's got to be some value in it. I like doing it, and somebody likes listening to it, so I'm going to keep going with it. So I had this idea a year ago, over a year ago, and I bought all this stuff, you know, this microphone, and I got a new computer, specifically for this, but you know, in general too. The camera we already had because the kids use it for school. So this stuff I got, the earphones. I don't even need the earphones actually. I thought I would need them. And in some of the early podcasts I got them on. I don't even know why. Like I don't think I can't hear myself talking or anything. I don't need those. Maybe to listen back to it, it's better than whatever speaker I got on the screen. In any case. I bought the stuff in November a year ago, so just over a year ago in November. And specifically, I wanted to get it before December because I was told once by a student who was a businessman, don't buy anything in December. Just don't buy anything. Nothing, if you can avoid it. If you can avoid it, don't buy anything in December. It's probably a good rule of thumb. So I don't know if it would have made a difference in this case, but it might have. I don't know. Probably good advice. Yeah, there's that guy, Alan Sherman, is that his name? He used to sing these songs back in like the 1950s. One of the famous ones is Hello Mudda, Hello Fada, Camp Granada, you know? Here I am at Camp Granada. And the other one is, I don't remember the other one. So, but he's got a couple of popular songs, but another one he wrote is called Good Advice, and it's a great song. And if I knew how to do anything with this podcast stuff, I would put a clip in there, you know, and like clip the song into the show, and then you get a couple of verses or a couple of seconds of, I think his name is Alan Sherman, singing the song. It's funny. He's one of those funny songwriters, and they are funny. He did the one about King Louis too. Not the Sun King, the one that got his head cut off. Louis the 16th was the King of France. Great song. Okay, let's keep going here. So I started my podcasts, and then we had a trip to Karpacz. I did a podcast about that, Karpacz. It was a great trip. The best thing about that trip was the swimming pool at the hotel. That was the most fun. And but the whole trip was great, walking around, beautiful weather, so good. Football was pretty good this year. I kept with it, and until I didn't. So we had a good season, I would say. The Warsaw Eagles were unbeatable, and they didn't lose a game. And when I watched the championship, I only watched the first quarter, or maybe a little bit more. I don't think I finished the first half even. They were so good. It was against the Mets, both teams from Warsaw. Mets played well. They had some good plays, but they weren't going to beat the Eagles, and you could see it. You could feel it. I mean, the Eagles made no mistakes. Everything they did was right. You know, it was like they did it well, and they're well coached. They got but that's Warsaw. I think they just got a lot of choices of people. You know, a lot of people to choose from, and other teams are like taking what they can get and making the most of it. And so yeah, the Jaguars. We had a good season. It was fun, a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed being out there. And I had a catch. I caught a ball. That was so much fun. In a real game, I caught a football and immediately got tackled, and that was just a thrill, such a thrill. I would love to do it again. Now, when the season started up again, this is when my friend Emir visited. I didn't even write that down here. So that was another big highlight of the year, is the visit of my best friend Emir. And I made a couple of podcasts with him, so you may have seen those. So, and we also had a great time. I use that term "great" a lot. I got to come up with some other words. But we had a wonderful time, and I wanted him to go to football practice with me, but he couldn't, in fact, in the end, because of some health issues. So we're getting older, and it would have taken a big chunk of time too, so it was just not doable. So I ended up missing the camp, which is like the 3-day event at the start of the football season. But not the season of games, but the practice season. So since then, I've only been to one practice. I went to one. It was a good one. I love being out there. But then I started missing them, and I always miss the Wednesday practices. Now I've been missing the Friday practices, and I didn't have the time, or I was busy with something else, or sometimes I would even get ready to go, pack up my stuff, and start to head out the door and just not go. And then I decided, all right, I'm going to call the coach, and I think I'm going to be done. And I did. I called the coach. He didn't answer, but he called me back the next day, and we talked. And I was pretty emotional. You know, I really like that team. I like my coaches, both coaches, both the head coach and the offensive coordinator, the whole coaching staff. You know, I like all of them. They were good, and I've had a lot of coaches in my life, and I've had good ones and bad ones. It's like teachers, you know. You get enough teachers, you get some stinkers, and you get some really good ones, people you respect. And these guys I respect, in a football sense, in a person sense, you know. So, hats off to them. But I told the coach, you know, I think that's it for me. It's just too far for me to go. It takes a long time to get there. And I got other things to do. But I really miss it. I wish it were closer. If it were right here in Legnica like we wanted it originally, that would have been great. I could just walk out the door and go to practice and be home in a half hour afterwards, or less. Or even when we had it in Świdnica, you know, that was more doable. But Kąty Wrocławskie is just a little too far. I leave the house about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. We start practice at 7:30. We finish at 9. I get home at midnight. I mean, that's a chunk of time, you know. So, and I'm getting older. I really wanted to play 2 more seasons. But I told the coach that's it. And he said, you know, sorry or whatever, thanks for coming out. I told him I'll come to the games, or at least one game when they got a home game. And I will. And then that was it. So I'm done. I'm done with football. I made the decision. And then I'm thinking to myself, now should I send a message also to the offensive coach, because he's a good guy. And I thought, well, I told the head coach, and he'll tell. I don't know if anybody cares. So, but I decided, okay, I talked myself into it. So I write a little quick message on my phone, SMS, to the offensive coordinator, and I send it, and immediately I see that he read it. Because you can see on the phone the little indicator. I don't know what you call it. The little indicator that the guy saw it. And then I see him typing back, like right away. Like I'm looking at my phone, I just sent it, and he's already writing back, and he writes back. And the first thing he says is like, I hope you change your mind after the new year. Bang, he planted the seed. He planted the seed in the back of my head. So now I'm thinking, my idea was to get in shape over the holiday, and here I am not really getting in shape, I have to admit. But I still think I might. So it's like the monster that won't die, in the horror movie. Maybe I'll get out there again. I hope I do, but I don't know. So officially now I'm off the team, but we'll see what happens after the new year. Okay, but it was a good year football-wise. Oh, I had a little small world story to tell. Because I don't think I mentioned this in the other one, in the previous podcast, but I had a lesson with, it was supposed to be 2 people. Because it's a company, it's a private company in Wrocław. And I work for a school called U English, very good school. I recommend them if you're in Wrocław, or even if not. But so I'm working for this school, and they set me up with these lessons, and it's online. So on Friday mornings, I meet with these 2 people online, and sometimes one comes and the other doesn't. Sometimes the other comes and the other one doesn't. But there's usually one of them. Sometimes nobody comes. But it's just a 45-minute lesson, so it's pretty quick. So the woman is Agnieszka, and we're talking. It's always fun. It's pretty easy, pretty good conversation. She's interested. She was telling me about tennis, because she had been, she was like a junior in the juniors when she was young. She was playing, and she was very good. She was, I think, ranked 5th, she told me, in the country for the juniors. And if you're ranked 5th, sometimes you're playing against the number 1. So that's a great opportunity for you, even if you're not number 1, but you get to play against the number 1. So, and that's great experience, So I just got to take a sip of my coffee here. So that's a pretty good tennis player, And she told me the thing, because tennis is an expensive sport, it's hard for a poor kid to end up being a good tennis player. They become the boxers. Boxing is a poor man's sport. Tennis is a rich guy's sport. So she says the expensive thing about tennis is traveling. You got to go to the tournaments. And if you're good enough to get a sponsor to pay for you, that's great, But if you don't, then you're going to pay to go to, you go around Poland and play different tournaments, but then what about around Europe and then the other countries? And then if you go to like Saudi Arabia or Dubai or something like that, like to play a tournament, you're going to pay for that? And if you don't, then you're not playing, and the other people are, and now they're getting the experience. They might be winning. And then you win, you make money, I guess. I don't know. And then you're more likely to get sponsors. So just to keep up with that traveling is just too expensive. And that's why a lot of people drop out, I guess. Anyway, but that's not the point I wanted to make with Agnieszka. It was this. I don't know if you can hear that, but my daughter's laughing in the background. What was I going to say, Agnieszka? Yeah. So I'm talking to her. She's like, when I was a little girl, back in my hometown, there was an American, and I knew, as she's talking, I already know the story. It's like, I got it in my mind already, what you're going to say. I know whom you're talking about. And she said there was this American teacher working at my papa's school, because her papa, I guess, was the principal of the school. I'm like, what town are you from? She said Quadsko, and I'm like, that's Heidi. It was her name Heidi? Yes, it was Heidi. It's like small world. I know Heidi, and you know Heidi. She knew her when Agnieszka, was a little girl. Heidi was in my group, one of my best friends from the group, the Peace Corps group. We used to hang out all the time. She and Ann Gordon and I, and so that was just, So I wrote to Heidi the next day, or maybe later that day, about this incident, that I had met her old friend Agnieszka, and she remembered Heidi very fondly, and they played tennis together, I think, because her dad or her mom, I think her mom was a pro, like a tennis pro, and a coach. So small world. So I just love that small world stuff. We've talked about some of those before. All right. So what else about this year? Yeah, I got a little incident going on with a school that I worked at because they fired me. And so now I'm taking, I don't want to talk too much about it because it looks like I'm going to take legal action because I don't think they had a good reason to fire me. So maybe when the process is over, I'll talk more about that. Because we got to come up with some kind of settlement or something because I'm not really happy with being fired. I've been fired before. I think everybody should get fired, but everybody should get fired. But you don't want to like aspire to get fired. But one time I was coaching girls volleyball. I got hired as a volleyball coach at a high school in California. Rebay Academy, the Rebay Frogs. And I was supposed to coach football, but then at the interview, or maybe the second interview, they asked me if I would, instead of football, coach girls volleyball. And I'm like, they asked me. It wasn't my idea. I don't know anything about volleyball. But I'm thinking, it's girls, who cares? So I'm like, well, I guess I can do this. I'll take any job. So I ended up coaching girls volleyball at a high school. And it turns out what happened was the mom was serious. And the mom of one of the ace, the ace, the star of the team, the mom worked at the school as like the secretary or something. So the mom would come to the practices to see how her star volleyball player student is doing. And it was important also because if you're a great volleyball player, you can get a scholarship. And so this was not a trivial matter in any sense. And I'm like, I barely knew what I was doing. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. And then the worst was going to the matches, against the other schools, which we did. And I'm like, I don't really know how to substitute or how to put one in off the bench, and change, and then can you do that again with the same player or not? I don't know. And I'm the coach. So we lost the first match. And then the second match was going to be at our school. And this was, what year was this? This was like 1990 or 91. And the next match was at our school, so we're the host. And I got to put up the net. And there's an athletic coordinator, or director, whatever you call him. So he's like the boss. He's like my direct boss. And he's a nice guy. He's a good guy. Very helpful. But he's busy at that point. Like putting up the net is my responsibility. And we got a new net, brand new net with the white, the beautiful net. And I'm nervous because it's my match. Here I am, the coach, and I'm a little bit nervous. And I'm trying to put up the net, and it's the strings. The line has like a loop, like a metal loop, and you're supposed to put the end of that line into the crank to crank it up. To get the net on the pole, and then you crank that, the line pulls, and the net stretches out. And then you got to put a pole, like a stick, sticking up on the net. So when the ball goes over, you can tell if it's over the line or in or out. And that line, that stick, has to be directly over the line, the outline. And so if you stretch the net too tight, it'll go out, those sticks will go outside the line, and you can't have that. So you got to adjust it right, or adjust the sticks, either way. Um, and then, so it's got this loop on the end. Well, that loop does not go into the crank thing. Like with the old net that we use for practice, it's just like the end of the line. There's no loop. There's no metal loop. And I don't know what to do. And the other team is going to come in like a half hour. And I got to get this net up. And so I'm like, it doesn't go in the thing. And there's no one to help me. And the athletic director is not around. And I'm like, it's like a nightmare. It's like one of those dreams where you have to do this and you can't do that. And the stress. Oh man, the team's coming. What is the other team going to do when they see you? And you don't have the net up yet? And like, why are you here? So, all right. What I did was I could not solve that problem. I could not figure out how to get that net up. I went with the old net. I put the old net up. It didn't look perfect. It didn't look pretty. But it was a net. We could play, and you got to get the middle part. The middle of the net has to not sag. You know, it can't be low. It has to be a certain height. And it's got to be somewhat rigid. You know, it can sag a little bit, but very little bit. And the judges will come in and they'll check it. You know, they'll measure everything and make sure it's the right height and it doesn't sag. So I'm dealing with, and that's when I realized, and with the sticks, I just got to tape them on. I tape them on, but then when I crank it extra tight, the sticks move. Now I got to take them off and retape them on. So I got these sticks stuck on with tape. Oh God, it was so much stress. So the other team comes. I got the net up. So we do have a net and we can play, and it's, let's say, playable. So let's say playable. And so I got that little stressful situation dealt with. But now I got to deal with my team and try to motivate them and say who's going to start where and who's going to be on the bench and then how we're going to do substitutions and try to figure out who's a good server and blah, blah, blah. And we play the match and we lose. And sometimes we would score a point or whatever because they kind of knew what they were doing, but I didn't know what they were doing, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to do anything, or like where do you stand, where do you sit? I don't know. I'm trying to like look at the other coach and see what's going on, and they use jargon that I don't even understand, and yeah. So we lost twice, and then we get the next one coming up, and before that one happened, the AC called me and told me I was fired. And it wasn't his decision. It was like the probably that secretary who twisted the principal's hand. And anyway, I was fired from that job that I didn't even want. I didn't want that job. So, but it's good to be fired, I think. But what I wanted to say, and I was thinking about this the other day, and I've thought about this before. When somebody does something that he loves and he thinks he's like inspired by it, or it makes a big impression on his life, like let's say he reads a book, like the Bible, like okay, you read the Bible and it's like, whoa, you know, this is something. Or you do something else, maybe not a book, maybe you take karate, you know, and you learn karate. And then you think, and you'll hear people say this sometimes, everybody should take karate, you know. Oh, everybody? Everybody should read the Bible? Well, if I'm taking karate, when am I reading the Bible? You can't do everything, you know? And that's why I liked Bear Bryant from Alabama, because I read his book. One of the first books I ever read, it was his autobiography. And he said, you know, not everybody should play football. Football's not for everybody. You know, you don't have to, you can be a good person and never play football. You don't have to play football, you know? Yeah. So no, you can't do everything, but you got to do something. All right. So yeah, this is the last day of 2025. It's been a good year, and I think I'm out of things to say right now. But I wanted to get this done, and we're going to go have a party here at home tonight. We were going to order pizza, but now we're going to change that to tomorrow. So tomorrow will be pizza day, and today we'll just deal with what we have here at home. Okay, I wish everybody a Happy New Year. Oh, I wanted to, so I was talking about Heidi Schurman from Stowe, Vermont. Hello, Heidi, by the way. Shout out to Heidi. And there's another Heidi in our group from Seattle. Do I remember her last name? Heidi from Seattle, Washington, I think. Hello, Heidi, if you're out there. And then Helene Stone. Helene, I owe you an email. You wrote to me before Christmas, and I haven't gotten back to you. And there's no excuse. I have no excuse. But I am sorry, and I will write. And in the meantime, hello, and Happy New Year to everybody. And I appreciate all my subscribers and the people who like this and who are listening. And I think 2026 will be a good year. There's a lot to look forward to. And otherwise, we'll just keep going. Okay, so that's it. Happy New Year. And how do I turn this up? Now I got to put my glasses on just so I can see where to click to get this thing stopped. Okay, stop recording. Goodbye.